What is up, you guys? It's Bob, and I am just trying to stay warm in this cold market of ours that just seems to keep on plummeting every day. And what I'm starting to wonder is whether or not this coronavirus is actually going to start infecting real estate. Because I've been doing a whole lot of fact checking on this thing, wondering whether or not, okay, like, is this going to get huge like it has in China where entire cities closed down? Or is this just all like media hype and it'll be over in a day? But what I've discovered is that this is actually something a little bit different than what I've been seeing. This is going to be a bit more long term and maybe less catastrophic. But in the short term, what can we do about this? Because we don't want to just survive this. We want to be able to see some opportunities. And there's definitely a bunch popping up now. And also, it's really important to understand the real estate fundamentals and how this is going to affect us long term because it's looking like it just might. So let's get into it. All right, so how are we going to adapt to this new virus in real estate? Okay, so the first thing we got to do is understand at least the very basics of what this virus is. So real quick, and actually probably during this video, there's World Health Organization buttons I've noticed everywhere on the internet now. You should really click those and learn a couple of things. But the quick summary that matters to me in real estate is that it is a single-strand RNA coronavirus, which essentially means it adapts really fast. It moves very quickly, and so trying to necessarily cure it with a vaccine might be difficult because there's actually already two different strains of this virus that have been seen in China already, which means finding a silver bullet for this thing is not necessarily going to be the most effective thing. And I read a few other articles from the Atlantic, and there's some other sources that should be popping up here that back that up from actual doctors and not a real estate broker. And so what we're actually going to be seeing here is something that's more like the cold, a seasonal cold or a version of the flu. I'm told it's not really the flu, but the thing is this might become more seasonal. It might happen again and again every year. Now, what does that really mean for the markets? Well, what I believe means is we have to actually start pushing this in to global GDP, national GDP, and understand that this will be like another almost flu season. Like there's 4 strains of the flu right now. This might be basically number 5. And that means there will be less productivity, less money, less ability to give promotions to companies because there's more and more people getting sick. These are the things that we're likely to see moving forward. What this means for real estate in the long term is, well, the prices might not be quite as good. Showings might be a little bit more difficult because more people will be sick on a seasonal basis. And yeah, there's going to be more hospital issues and more things like this, and this will all just bleed into everything a little bit. So what this means is the market overall is going to be affected. Global GDP is going to go down because of, well, globalization. And that means that overall, the market in general has to go down. But how much is this really going to affect real estate? A lot of people will be like, well, is there going to be a crash? Is there going to be a recession? What's going to happen? Well, I don't really see a crash really happening here for a whole lot of reasons. First off, let's go with who actually owns homes today. It is not like it was in 2007, 2008. A lot of the people holding the loans are much more qualified. Also, there is a heck of a lot more equity in the homes that Americans own nowadays, which means it is a lot harder for them to be in a really tough spot. Lastly, interest rates. Interest rates are so low to the point where the only real thing I see happening, and I'm actually seeing it happen, is everyone is going out and getting a refi, not going out and fire selling their house because they're getting their payments so low where it just makes sense to just stay there. Why not? They're just going to wait it out and at least try and figure out what's going on with this virus as news comes in and maybe treatments come in for it. Lastly, and maybe most importantly, we still are at an extremely low rate of inventory for new homes. Like there is still way more demand than we're able to get in supply. And as someone who's in multifamily, it's actually even more intense than the single family right now. Like I might be getting 1 to 2 new multifamily buyers a week on average, but it is so much more difficult to actually find a multifamily property for them. Now, with all that in mind, where is the opportunity in a market like this? Well, all of it, as is most things, especially in the stock market, it is rooted in fear. Yeah,
And it's not the fear that will make people sell like we thought, but there are people who have to sell no matter what. And those people are people who are getting foreclosed on, bank-owned properties. Those groups might have to sell no matter what. Some will postpone, but maybe they can't keep postponing. And the reason why this really matters is because there might be less buyers out there willing to go inspect the properties, go to the courthouse steps, or are just afraid of investing right now because they think the market still might crash, which means because this property has to sell, you might just get a really, really good deal. And we know that people are getting a little freaked out because at minimum, Costco. Because when you go there, you realize everyone's loading up on things like toilet paper, paper towels, and everything else that will keep you alive in an apocalypse. Now, not that I'm trying to minimize that people are getting afraid and that there are actual problems out there. Let me tell you, I got my grandma in town, and man, a big reason why I ended up doing this video, because I got to make sure that she's okay, because, well, it's a little bit different of a situation for her given her age. That said, the happy side of what's going on with this deal is that the feds did at least decrease it, which is great for us people in real estate and helps keep the market relatively stable and improves the yields. Trump and his administration just approved $8 billion worth of funds to go towards fighting the coronavirus. And at least tentatively, in a way, hopefully it's credible, it appears that China at least found a way to lock down this virus. And there are biomedical companies that are coming out with test versions of either vaccines or treatments at incredible speed and are being tested at a scale that is much, much faster than normal, which should at least help damper just how much of an effect this virus can really have on us. Now, with all this positivity, that is not to say that there is absolutely no part of real estate that could get hit. And in fact, there's parts that already have been. The biggest parts of real estate being affected right now by this virus are actually shopping malls, especially in China, as you might imagine. But I'm using China as a way to see what could happen to us because we're starting to see declarations of emergency in Seattle and even LA. And the reason why the malls are going down, as you can probably already assume, is, well, they're giant public spaces and they're retail. It's like the epitome of people seeing each other, coughing on each other, and giving each other viruses.
And instead of shopping, people will instead be staying home and perhaps tending towards their vertical hydroponic gardens to help ensure that they survive the coming apocalypse. But you know the other thing that really helps ensure that you will survive an apocalypse? Positivity, which is best expressed by smashing that like button because it really helps my small little channel and I really appreciate it.
And what's also interesting about this is that the tenants are also really getting affected. The malls and the tenants are trying to figure out what to do because they do have long-term leases with one another. They're trying to get it half off or completely off or this and that. So if you're a small business owner or own a little shop or anything like this, even in a strip center, there is a lot of negotiations going on with it, and you really should look into that if that is the case for you. Now, there is another area that is also really being affected, and that is group homes, nursing homes, houses that have like 5 bedrooms and house the elderly, something that a lot of newer real estate investors can get into if they're just playing as the landlord. And the reason why this is such a big deal is, if you haven't noticed, a lot of these outbreaks are actually starting in nursing homes, group homes, because they're all together. They're all eating together. They all have lower immune systems, and they are getting affected the most, sadly. So if you're looking into real estate right now, that could be seen as a group home, like in Arizona, it's like an R1-5, or a home that has 5 bedrooms and up, that might actually be an issue. And you might want to look into that before you start investing into those things, specifically if you're looking into elder care or anything like that. I'm not saying don't. They definitely need homes, but you do need to do some extra underwriting. But if you want to stick it out or continue moving on, the main message here is this. It is to not freak out. It does not work whether you're in the stock market, real estate, or any of that. The fundamentals overall of the global economy and the national economy are strong enough. Things should stabilize even with this new virus coming out. Things will continue to get better. And the main thing that we need to realize is a lot of people will freak out. They will keep listening to the news. They will like use it like an IV. They will look at the notifications on their phones. They will look at the 5 o'clock news, the 6 o'clock news, the 7, the 8, the 9, the 10, the 12, the 24-hour version. And they will continue to make mistakes. And what we have to understand with wealth is, to a great extent, is it is not absolute. It is relative. And if everyone around you is making mistakes and losing their wealth, prices overall will probably go down. Negotiation ability for people who still have cash, because they stayed the course, will be in a stronger negotiating position, meaning you will be in a much better spot 3, 6, 12 months down the road, whenever this happens, or whenever you're able to find a good deal for yourself. This was a very stressful video overall. So overall, the message here is keep calm.
Like the video, and then also just look for new videos. All right, bye.